Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Cameron, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about what you can expect at the University of Florida during the fall 2021 semester. So if you are anything like me, you have been waiting for the University of Florida and for the world to be somewhat back to normal. For the last year and a half, we have been under various lockdowns and restrictions, and that really has affected the way of life at UF. The college experience has simply been a lot different than we were expecting it to be when we came to UF. I myself have missed out on kind of the last year and a half of my college experience, and now going into my senior year, I'm really looking to make the most of it. In today's video, I'm just going to be talking all about the various aspects of campus, what UF has said, and the overall projections that I have for this upcoming school year. Things are looking pretty promising for fall 2021, and I think we're going to have a lot to look forward to. If you are an incoming freshman at the University of Florida, congratulations. Get ready for the best 4 years of your life. Or if you're a sophomore, junior, or senior like me, get ready for a very fun year. We definitely deserve it. With this all being said, let's get into the video. So probably one of the most important things is that UF has already announced is that all classes will be back in their traditional setting. So prior to COVID-19, there were in-person classes, there were hybrid classes, and there were fully online courses. I think this is kind of what allowed UF to transition into the fully remote landscape pretty seamlessly. I know I was very fortunate to have taken some of these hybrid and online classes prior to COVID, just so that when COVID did happen and everything was remote, I was already somewhat used to that learning environment. But going into this year, all traditionally in-person classes have been announced to be in person at 100% capacity. This is extremely exciting news just because in the spring, they tried to bring back some in-person classes, but they were at very limited capacities, and all of those in-person spots got filled extremely quickly. I know a lot of us students in the past just took online and hybrid classes just because it made it easier not having to go to class, walk to class. You could just roll out of bed and jump in it. But now after these last pretty much 2 years of not being able to do that, I'm really looking forward to going back to school in person. I think it's just a much better learning environment when you're there in person with the professor. You're able to ask them questions, face to face instead of through a Zoom screen. Now, I do have to mention that a lot of freshman classes and early classes are usually in that hybrid setting. So these are classes that are usually a ton of students, let's say 400, 500. Classes like that, microeconomics, macroeconomics, especially in the business school, your first 2 years, there's gonna be a lot of these classes. In the past, these were always taught, giving you the option to either go to the lectures in person or just watch those recorded lectures later anytime you want. I'm sure that this option will still be available. I definitely took advantage of it during my first 2 years. So that might be the case if you're in one of your first 2 years and you're taking some introductory classes. But for me, going into my senior year, most of my finance courses now are in a smaller setting. There's only going to be about 30 to 40 kids in each class, and all of them have announced to be fully in person. I'm really looking forward to this. Like I said, I think it'll just promote a much better learning environment. It definitely allows you to create a better connection with your teachers and professors. And of course, you'll be able to see your classmates, socialize with them in person, which just makes it so much easier than if you're online. This was really one of those things I noticed last year and a half is, when you have someone in your class on Zoom, you're not really having conversations with them. You don't have that minute before and after class when you're just sitting there. So I'm really looking forward to kind of being back in person just for the social aspect. These are definitely all positives of being back in person. One of the negatives is that this means that exams will most likely be in person again. Now, for myself, I know I definitely appreciated being able to take exams and tests from the comfort of my home. I remember freshman and the first half of sophomore year, it was always really intimidating to walk to a certain building in the school, go in there with 300 other super nervous students, and have to take a tough exam shoulders width apart from someone else. So we'll see what they do with this. I don't think they've really announced if exams will be in person or not, but this is just one of those things I'm not necessarily looking forward to about being back fully traditionally in person. Now, although the lectures now might be back in person, that doesn't mean that the entire learning experience is in the classroom. It's really important that you have a laptop that can handle everything else that the learning experience requires. I know I myself will be using my Dell XPS 15 laptop this upcoming school year. Not only will I be taking it to class to take awesome detailed notes during the lectures. I know I'll also be able to keep up with everything else, whether I'm studying in the library or back in my apartment. Also, the XPS 15 laptop has a great battery life. This means that I don't even really need to worry about bringing my charger to the lectures, plugging it in, finding an outlet, things like that. This just takes a little bit of the stress away from going back to in-person classes. If you yourself are interested in picking up a Dell laptop, the link to their website will be down below in the description. Now that we've talked about the learning, let's talk about the thing I'm most looking forward to. UF has already announced that fall game days will be back at full capacity. If you've ever been to a UF football game, you know the environment is just crazy. This was really one of those things that just made me fall in love with UF when I went and visited when I was in high school, and just solidified my love for UF my freshman year. There really is nothing like a UF game day. You walk outside of wherever it is you are and you can just feel the energy in the air. University Avenue is shut off. People are just walking in the street. Everybody's excited about the game. And of course, the fraternity tailgates are the best. For the last year, UF football games have been at limited capacity, which has restricted kind of that whole college football experience. In addition to the actual seating at the games being limited, we also weren't allowed to have tailgates at fraternity houses. This definitely changed everything. In a traditional setting, every single fraternity has a tailgate. Girls would usually go from tailgate to tailgate, having a lot of fun. And overall, every single weekend would just be a wild and fun experience. But because of all the restrictions set last year, we obviously weren't able to do any of this. This is actually one of those reasons I decided to live in my fraternity house this upcoming year. I know that everything will just be 10 times crazier than it's ever been, just because people are so excited to get back to it. UF is supposed to be pretty good again this year in football, which obviously just makes everything a little bit better. So because fraternities are allowed to have tailgates at their houses again, this also means that other events at the houses are allowed. This was another thing that kind of affected a lot of the social aspect at UF last year. Fraternities weren't allowed to have people at their houses other than the brothers who lived there. Now this means that fraternities are able to throw parties again at their houses, and this just brings back a lot of the excitement to the UF campus. In addition to the actual fraternity parties, I think just the overall nightlife at the University of Florida will really see an increase again this upcoming year. So this is the number 2 thing, and probably the thing I'm most looking forward to is that fall game days are going to be back and at full capacity. On a somewhat similar note to the first 2 topics I talked about, student organizations and clubs now will be allowed to meet in person again. For myself, being in a lot of different clubs and organizations, I definitely got the Zoom fatigue. The main reason I would join so many clubs is because I loved the aspect of socializing with people in person, and because everything was moved remote, it just changed the entire experience. It's a lot easier to meet new people and make friends when you can chat in person instead of being in a breakout room on Zoom where everything just feels so forced. Again, like I said before, because everyone was so locked up this last year and a half, I'm sure people will be so eager to go out and socialize, see people in person again. So I really expect a lot of the student organizations on campus to see their membership rates really rise. The same can probably be said for Fraternity Rush. I myself know a lot of freshmen last year who chose not to rush just because it was a COVID year, activities were somewhat limited, and they kind of wanted to feel out what it would be like. So because so many kids waited last year and chose not to rush, I'm sure they all will be very eager to rush this year, which makes me think that fraternity numbers will be up even higher than before. So this is point number 3, and that is that student organizations and clubs will be back to being in person, which will make it so much easier to make new friends and connections. Now, the final thing I'm going to talk about is something I know I'm excited about and a lot of my friends, and that is that gyms will now be again at full capacity and will no longer require you to wear a mask. This was one of those really annoying things about last year. A lot of the times you have to wait in a line to go into a gym just because they had a certain capacity limit. And then also when you're in the gym, you had to wear a mask. Now, of course, we all know it's not the easiest thing in the world to work out, have a solid workout with a mask on, limiting your airflow. In addition to the capacity limits inside the gyms, they also didn't allow us to play pickup basketball. For myself, I know this was one of my favorite hobbies, to go hit the courts with some friends and just destroy everybody. But because of those lockdowns and restrictions last year, we were not allowed to play pickup basketball, and I know that's kind of a big social experience in college for a lot of us that we missed out on last year. This also translates into intramurals. I know a lot of those will be back at full capacity this year without masks. I was very thankful last year that they allowed us to play volleyball in fraternity intramurals, but it was a completely different situation. Instead of the normal 6 players on the court, they only allowed 4 because it allowed for social distancing. And then also you still had to wear a mask which is pretty challenging when you're playing a competitive game of volleyball. So I'm definitely very excited for intramurals and the gyms to be back at full capacity without any restrictions. If you're not into student organizations and clubs, going to the gym and playing basketball and other sports is just an awesome way to meet friends. And this, I think, is something that a lot of people missed out on the last few years and are really excited to have come back. So that is the video. Just making this has made me so much more excited to get back on campus. Today is July 24th, so we're under a month now until the first day of classes, and I'm just so excited for what is in store for this year. If you are a current UF student, let me know down below in the comments what you're most excited for. I definitely would be interested in hearing your opinion. I think this year really will just be so amazing for UF, and I can't wait to be a part of it. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. I have plenty of other videos about UF and my career and finance. Also, if you have any questions, you can follow me on Instagram at Galbraith. I'd love to connect. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Go Gators.
My heart rages around like an ocean in my head.